Sometimes Christians present one of the biggest evidence for God is the empty tomb of Jesus. Jesus rose from the dead, and history proves it. You read the New Testament. But that's the worst example anyone could possibly give for the reliability of the Bible. The 4 or 5 resurrection accounts that are given in the New Testament are hopelessly contradictory. Even conservative scholars agree that they cannot be reconciled. The Bible is not a source of truth. It was written by a bunch of perhaps well-meaning but ignorant ancient people who had religious ideas about spooks and ghosts and all that. And they thought actually dead people could come back to life, when in fact the New Testament doesn't say that. The New Testament doesn't say Jesus bodily rose from the dead. Let me ask you, there's 4 or 5 accounts of the resurrection in the New Testament. The New Testament gives contradictory answers to all of these questions. What time did the women visit the tomb? Was the sun shining or was it dark? Take your pick. Who were the women? Different lists. What was their purpose? Different purposes. Was the tomb open when they arrived? What do you think? Yes or no? Both. In Matthew, the tomb was closed and it opened after the angel came in the earthquake. Who was at the tomb? Different accounts. Where were these messengers situated? Different accounts. What did the messengers say? Different accounts. Did the women tell what happened? Yes and no. When Mary returned from the tomb, did she know Jesus had been resurrected? Yes and no. When did Mary first see Jesus? Could Jesus be touched after the resurrection? After the women, to whom did Jesus first appear? Different stories. Where did Jesus first appear to the disciples after the resurrection? Different stories. Matthew said it first happened in Galilee, which was 60 to 100 miles away. But John and the others say, no, it happened somewhere in the road to Emmaus or in Jerusalem. Did the disciples believe these men? What happened at the appearance? Did Jesus stay on earth for a while? You go through these things, they cannot be reconciled. No scholar, no Bible scholar has been able to write a coherent narrative to explain just basically what happened. The Bible is a contradictory mishmash. It has some truth in it. It would be surprising if it didn't. But it contradicts history. You saw the report out of Tel Aviv last month about camels. It has now been pinpointed just about to the decade in the 9th century BC when domesticated camels were introduced into the Middle East. We know that now. Historians and scholars know that. Archaeologists know that. And yet, the Old Testament describes the patriarchs of about a millennium earlier having domesticated camels and camel caravans. That didn't happen. That was a mistake. That was an anachronism. It was wrong. The Bible is filled with all sorts of scientific, historical mistakes, anachronisms, and immoral teachings. It is not a good basis for truth. Any one of us could do better in this world than the writings or the thoughts of Jesus, who said a couple of good things. It would be surprising if Jesus borrowed from Hillel. He borrowed from Confucius. Confucius had said the golden rule in a better way. So I think Jerry's big problem here is that his whole thesis is based upon something revealed to him in a book which is shifting and sinking sand, a book which is not a place to build your house.